Can Tesla drivers embrace other electric cars? This year is where a lot of other companies, legacy manufacturers, and startups are really flaunting their new electric cars. Half of them are on the market already. So, if anything, I would assume we would all celebrate. But I still see some animosity among Tesla owners. And specifically, there was an article in Teslarati the other day that made me think just that. So, today is Wednesday, so I'm going to bring in Eli Burton of My Tesla Adventure, a perfect person to talk about this because he has embraced some of the electric cars. It would be interesting what his opinion is because he interacts with so many Tesla owners in person, online. So very much interested in his opinion. I do think some of the concerns from the Tesla communities are very much valid, and we're going to talk about that. So let's get going right now. Taking over the world, electrifying the world, E4 Electric. Welcome to E4 Electric, your number one source of unbiased electric car news. If this is your first time here, go ahead and click on that subscribe button down there so you don't miss anything moving forward. And of course, don't forget to hit that bell notification icon as well. All right, so the Teslarati article that I kind of this is what got me and Eli talking because I saw this article and I was like, wow, these guys cannot be happy for anybody except for Tesla and Rivian. We should mention that weird thing that's happening. But I also, know from my conversations with Eli that he has been pretty open to other brands, whether they're legacy. Well, startups, obviously, startups get a much a bigger pass because they're always all electric. They're just starting out from scratch, so they're doing it right from the very beginning. Legacy manufacturers, of course, get a lot of slack for being legacy manufacturers, and of course, anything that's owned by a Volkswagen Group as well. So we'll address that, and Eli is going to be here in just a second. He's back in the States, so our connection is going to be better. Before that, of course, a quick reminder that this video and this channel is sponsored by Byton, one of the newer startups, the Byton M-Byte, the all-electric SUV coming to the US and Europe at the end of the next year. So this is a perfect time to get on a reservation list that's growing past 50,000 of us. It takes $0 to reserve one and really about 60 seconds of your time. I dare you to beat my time of 24 seconds. So go to the description of this video and reserve your Byton today. All right, without further ado, I'm going to bring in Eli. Eli, how are you doing, my friend? You're still muted.
I'm still muted.
You're still muted.
It's so good to be back, especially now that I'm not muted. It's good to be back. I made it back to the States just in time for the 4th of July tomorrow, although I'm also leaving the country again. So we're getting one good video in before I fly back out to the next destination. But excited to be here and excited to be talking about this subject.
Yeah, and I see you got an awesome piece of art behind you there. Tell us what's going on over there in your background.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, this painting behind me, it's actually one of two that I was sent. Absolutely beautiful. I wish I had their Instagram handle ready, but this really incredible artist contacted me via Instagram and said, hey, I would love to paint some of this and give them to you. And I was like, yeah, absolutely. And then I saw the way the work came out, and they should have paid thousands of dollars for these things. They're absolutely incredible.
Looks amazing. All right, so I know our conversation started and ended very shortly because we realized we should have it in front of the camera, and we don't rehearse this. We're not having it for the second time or whatever. Is because I don't know if either you retweeted or somehow I found this article on Teslarati that they basically were, I feel like, kind of bashing a Porsche Taycan. They were trying to compare it to Model 3, though that's not really how you compare those cars. It's obviously as a competitor to Model S, and I was just kind of wondering, why?
Well, let's start right with that, because I actually don't agree that comparing it to the Model S is necessarily the right way to compare these cars.
Okay, tell me why.
Well, so a couple things. It's been kind of framed as by the media, and of course Porsche's marketing is that, this is their Tesla killer, that's what the media calls it, and that this is their competitor to the Model S. But when you look at the specs of this car, its specs are much more similar to the Model 3, with everything with the exception of price point. I mean, they're talking our performance Model 3. So they're talking about a 3.5 second 0 to 60, which is fine. Performance Model 3 does a 3.2 second 0 to 60. They're talking about a track mode, which is awesome. Performance Model 3 also has a track mode. In fact, they just set a new record with the Performance Model 3 at Laguna Seca just last weekend, where they actually beat Lucid Motors' record. And the reason that's a big deal is Lucid Motors is building their car specifically for racing. So the fact that a performance Model 3 has beat the best prototype that Lucid has made, which is supposed to be a race car, is pretty incredible. So it's got a
Yeah.
track mode. The range on the vehicle
To be
similar.
fair, Eli,
Biggest
hold on a
difference is
second.
price. Go ahead.
To be fair, I gotta say, I think that record was set a while back. I think it was a couple of years ago, right? For by Lucid, by the Lucid Air car.
I'd have to take a look. We can circle back to that though. I've
Yeah.
got it on one of my 11 browser windows that I have open. So I was
Okay.
looking
All
at
right. Go
it.
ahead. Sorry.
The size of the vehicle, the Taycan is much more in the line. It's not the size of the Panamera. The Porsche Taycan is much more. It's a much smaller, not full-on roadster-ish feel, but it's a much smaller car interior than the Model S, and that's fine. But it's another thing that makes this vehicle more similar to the Model 3.
Well, so and I think granted, but at the same time, it's not as small as Model 3, right? It's not as big as Model S, but it's not as small as Model 3. Uh,
Correct.
so I think it's in between, literally. So shouldn't the argument be in between as well? But to me, there are quite a few things that also Model 3 just doesn't have. That a midsize sedan, which Taycan wants to be, as you I think it is, or Model S is, which is, for example, the display behind the steering wheel. That to me, that's a huge difference. I know a lot of Tesla owners say, well, it's I'm okay with it, but it's great.
It's a big
You're
difference for me too, by the way. As we've talked about this, the reason why I bought this Raven refresh and didn't wait for the interior refresh is I like the screen setup. So I'm with you on that.
Yeah.
That's a significant difference for the driving experience.
Yeah, so to me, just that along is already putting them in different categories. Also, there are quite a few
I mean,
things
it
that.
takes a little more than just a screen to put
Right,
cars in
right,
different
right.
categories, but I'll give you that point.
Yeah, yeah. So, but I mean, I'll go on with Porsche is more of a sporty car, and therefore it will be smaller size than Model S, which is not really presented as a sports car, right? In general, Tesla is not a sports brand where Porsche is. Now, Porsche also has some specs, and again, we can argue about them, but that article didn't mention them at all. For example, the charging rate is going to be much higher, right? By 100 kilowatts. Granted, it's a top rate. We don't know what the average is going to be. Not that the Model 3 is doing that great. I believe the 250 kilowatt rate falls off pretty quickly. That's obviously to prevent the damage to the battery. Also, performance. This is where Porsche, I think they put a lot of effort into making sure that you can take it on track and it can perform for a very long time. And that's where it kind of beats Model S. I think this is what the advantage is going to be. I personally, as a consumer, couldn't care less. I'm just saying that that's where they're also going to beat them. 30,
To date, you're definitely right. To date, Model S does not have a track mode. So yeah,
yes.
the current Model S is. It's rumored that the Ravens are going to get an update for a track mode because some of the changes in battery is going to allow some of these higher temperatures and they've got better cooling. But you're absolutely right. Today, Model S does not have a track mode. That's something that's exclusive to the Performance Model 3.
Yeah. Overall, Porsche considered to be a luxury brand. The build quality, especially with the interior, is a luxury brand as well. So, that's, I think, where Tesla has always been purposely, I would say, behind. I don't know if I would say behind, just different, right? They went for a minimalistic design and so forth. But nevertheless, Porsche comparing to Tesla and most of the luxury cars comparing to Tesla will beat it in terms of a quality of the interior, the luxurious look and feel, and so forth. Now, I can go on, but I don't want to waste my time or yours or our viewers, because what I'm saying is there are quite a few other arguments to be made on the other side, where I think Porsche Taycan will essentially compete with the Model S, especially like. I think the competition is all about the interest from the buyers, right? I think most people will be choosing between Model S and Taycan rather than Model 3 and Taycan. But what I'm saying, the article that we're talking about, they really weren't mentioning all of this. They were kind of like it felt like they almost wanted to put Taycan and Model 3 in the same sentence rather than Model S. And whatever they figured out they would pick on, which is interior space, weak argument if you ask me. It just felt like they were really trying to once again. And granted, Teslarati, it's in their name. I get it. It's a website for Tesla fans. Though they have had a very almost unhealthy obsession with Rivian. I don't think Rivian posts as many articles on their website as Tesla already about Rivian. So I don't know what the connection there is, but this is where I'm going with this, right? So, and this is my question to you, really. This is what the video is about. Do you think Tesla owners as individuals and Tesla owners as community, there's some sort of an animosity or almost kind of a uh, purpose ignorance, I would say, to the outside of world with other electric cars, and also sort of a dislike of any electric car that comes out of a legacy manufacturer?
So to be fair to Tesla, Rodney, the article does focus on one very specific piece, and you're right about it being very specific. So they focus on comparing the size of the interior. Porsche Taycan interior space seems closer to Tesla Model 3 than Model S. They got very narrow on that. You're absolutely right. They made it as a comparison to a Tesla vehicle because that's the audience that they're serving. I didn't think they covered it unfairly, but you're absolutely right. They did get very specific, and there was other information not covered.
Well,
Now, to your
hold on,
question,
Eli, hold on a second. So this is where I think I take issue with this. When Tesla gets compared to other manufacturers in such fashion, you and I and the entire Tesla community, screams
let
bloody
me finish my
murder, right?
points. I think I'm about to answer to exactly where you're going, which
Okay,
is
all right, fair enough.
what
Go.
I believe is driving this and why we're seeing, like, there's a reason why we're seeing this happen. Like, we're seeing these comparisons happen with Porsche Taycan much more than you're seeing it happen of like Model X versus I-Pace, is that a lot of the media coverage that's been given of the Porsche, especially when it's first released, they gave their first numbers, is that this is the Tesla killer, which, by the way, then goes downwind online to a bunch of people on social media who are anti-Tesla, anti-electric vehicles, like, the ICE car, like gas car fanboys start being like, oh, well, this car is going to beat Tesla. This is the Tesla killer. So starting from the initial media coverage of it, it started in us against them, Porsche versus Tesla, this legacy brand versus Tesla debate and feud. But also, too, what I think is causing a lot of it is Porsche initially, early on, back December, January-ish, when they were really starting to put out more information about this car, executives of this company were going to car magazines and bragging that this car is going to beat the Tesla Model S in every performance spec that exists. And that's completely untrue. Even the numbers that they've announced don't match up with that. They've gone off shooting their mouth out saying that. And I think that's why, especially with the Porsche, you're seeing this reaction from the Tesla side coverage being like, yeah, no, you're not even going to beat the Model S. You're not even going to beat the Model 3 in some performance specs. So I think it's a result, I think it's very much a direct result of the way they put out information, the way they put out misinformation, the way they've tried to lie about their car while boasting about it is generating that response. And I think that's why we're specifically seeing that response in response to Porsche. Now, do I think Tesla owners are against electric vehicles and other electric vehicles? Absolutely not. And where you see, and I don't think it's just a legacy car manufacturer thing either. Now, granted, there was a lot of mistrust of legacy car manufacturers for good reason. Dieselgate. Daimler is now proven, looks like they're part of Dieselgate. Porsche offices were raided recently in Europe as part of this investigation. Mercedes, it looks like all of these guys were part of this. So there's good reason why people dislike and mistrust them coming from electric.
Granted, yeah.
Now, the reason I would say startups are getting a pass is, one, they're all electric from the very beginning. But also, the media coverage of them is not making this, the media isn't weaponizing them against Tesla. They're not being like, oh, this is the next Tesla killer, and using them as just another way to say Tesla's irrelevant. Versus the legacy car manufacturers are. And what that translates into when you get to social media is a huge us versus them fight happening in social that ultimately we see bleed over into content.
So let's go back a little bit. So don't get me wrong. I really dislike when a manufacturer, goes after another manufacturer, especially within the electric car industry. I feel like we should be fighting against the 99% of car sales that are still gas car sales, and we shouldn't be picking fights in between.
But let's be fair. The legacy manufacturers want us to fight electric versus electric because they can't transition to all electric and maintain their profits that quickly. They've got a multi-year plan to do this gradually. Right. They want to stay profitable. So they want us having an electric versus electric discussion. The worst thing that could happen for them is the narrative turn to electric versus gas, because then they all lose.
Right. Well, but let me get back to my point. If we're, you said that, Porsche executives went out and spit out a bunch of specs that turned out to be not all the way true. Same can be.
They weren't just not all the way true, but go on.
Well, we can kind of go and say kind of the same thing about Elon, right? He just backed out of the spec, the best spec that Tesla ever came out. It looks like he backed out of it.
But we're talking about Tesla's got a 2.4 second 0 to 60 car. Porsche comes out and says, we're going to beat Tesla's performance, then comes out and says, hey, we're making a 3.5 second 0 to 60 car. Like, come on. That's a very big difference. And I don't know what is going on with that roadster change, by the way. I'm still scratching my head on
Yeah,
that
me
one.
too. But what I'm saying is that broken promises are on both. I feel like on both sides, and I think this is something that is because everyone's moving, trying to impress Wall Street. We don't see startups do this as much because they don't have to impress investors.
Yeah,
We,
that's true.
so
They have internal investors, not shareholders, for sure, not public shareholders. That's
the,
definitely part of it.
yeah,
But
and this
there's
is
a big
why
difference between like a prototype broken promise and just out. I mean, Porsche knew that they weren't going to beat the Model S in every spec, because if they were even close, we would see a car that says 2.6 seconds instead of 2.4, instead of 3.5, right? Like, they knew they weren't hitting that metric. And yeah, maybe they did it for boasting purposes and investor confidence purposes, but the media still weaponizes that stuff and says, hey, look, Tesla, you're going to be irrelevant. Porsche's got a better car coming from you. And it drives more of that animosity.
Right. And so, but I do believe, like, I don't remember that particular quote from any of their executives, but I would assume if they did say that, and obviously it was to, create hype and so forth, just like 1.9 seconds created a lot of hype, right? Having one in front of for 0 to 60 spec for production car is insane. So that I will blame both because I don't like it, to be honest with you, either way. But going back to Tesla owners, the reason I say that I feel like there's some animosity there is I give you the Dieselgate. Yes, it's a kind of a tough pill to swallow, especially being so recently. My view on this is this: listen, this is Dieselgate is the best thing that happened to the legacy manufacturers, especially like Volkswagen Group, because they weren't going to move this fast on electric cars, but now they're literally running away from Dieselgate, and that's where you're seeing, Porsche that we're talking about, and Audi and so forth. So, by the way, and let me get back to another point is that, just talking crap about the other manufacturers. I mean, Elon literally just did this. He praised Audi e-tron on Twitter, and then just a couple of weeks later, he basically called the e-tron, a turd during the shareholder meeting. So again, I don't like either when all this crap is literally being thrown on both
Did
sides
you
of the
see kind of
aisle.
how that whole thing evolved? So it started from Twitter. Somebody tweeted out that the translation of e-tron in French actually means poop, like it means like you
Yeah,
said, crap. And
right.
then it got to Elon, and then somehow that ultimately transitioned to him making a joke about it in the shareholder meeting. And at one point, he's even like, "I'm sorry, I don't mean to give like the e-tron such a hard time."
Right.
Yeah, it was an interesting escalation. Yeah.
Right, yeah, and we can even go back to that portion of the meeting where they also presented, I believe, efficiency chart where e-tron was last and Tesla was first, and I believe they framed it where Hyundai Ioniq wasn't going to be there because I think Ioniq is still, I think, the most efficient battery for some reason. But I don't like it. I don't like it on both ways. Like, I feel like this is all fighting on both ways. I don't like when Porsche says that crap. But I also criticize Elon for saying crap like that, which I think he should take a position of like, hey, we all are trying to get electric cars movement off the ground. But so I know it gets fueled by media, by executives, by Elon and everybody, but just out of just us, like right, like regular people, I see a lot of comments whenever I post about some new car, right? Like, I just did an article about this solar car that came out of literally a school project. There's a bunch of kids that were competing in a competition. They did something good. They turned into a company. Solar panels on the car, and I get all of this, comments from Tesla fans is like, oh, this is crap. This looks ugly. This will never work and stuff like that. Just sit back and just say, oh my God, this is great. This is what our kids are working on. They're making cars, and this is the new technology. This is where my question comes from, I guess.
Yeah, and
Why?
you know what? A few years ago, that's not the response you would have seen. But it's returning to my original point is that all of this messaging that's put out there has created infighting, and it's made the brand loyalty entrenching even harder. Because like if that got picked up by the mainstream media, the coverage would have been future Tesla killer question mark. Like, it's created this massive us against them of electric vehicle versus electric vehicle, when that's really not accurate for what this means, like what this actually is, right? Like, what we're seeing is a growth of electric vehicles they're chipping away at ICE vehicles, right? Like, People are like, when people are buying these, go into these legacy manufacturers, with the exception of a handful of folks like potentially you, they're buying their first electric car, right? Which means they're, this is a growth of a new sector, and unfortunately the messaging online right now is it's created a lot of infighting. And let's be real though, brand loyalty is a thing, right? People get excited about Apple, people hate Apple, they love their Android. Like when you have big brands like this, especially leaders that create a sector, you get a lot of loyalty to them. So that's part of it. It's certainly brand loyalty, but people making negative comments, and I'm going to assume, since you said it was Tesla fans making comments on this thing being negative, that maybe they had Tesla names in their accounts or something. But there is no need for anybody to be hating on a project that is good for the future.
Yeah, and that was my point. Now, with that said, I'm just about to release a video where I completely crap on an electric car, and this is where I think it is okay, and I'll tell you why, because I don't want to people say, well, you Alex, you're being a hypocrite. I think we should root all for the good technology that is progress for the entire electric car community. What I don't think is we should root for is these pathetic attempts by legacy manufacturers, a lot of times, that are behind um, creating a car that's not only going to be way below average, but it will actually make things worse for us. And I'm talking about a particular one, and again, I'm going to have a video coming out about this little cute thing. And I mentioned, just like the experience that I had with dating apps, this very cute thing has a lot of disappointments once you dig into it. This is the first electric car from Honda. It's going to have 100 mile range, all electric, but the price is still going to be somewhere probably in about $35,000, which you can buy Model 3 for, or Kia Niro EV with almost 300-mile range. Right.
You know what it's like? It's like they don't actually want to sell this car.
Yeah.
Right? Like
yeah.
That's what that tells me. They don't actually want to sell this car.
So this is where I say it's an exception. This is where I say, whoa, 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 whoa. We don't want this. This is actually going to create or enforce the stereotype and all of this myths that people have about electric cars. Small has to be small, can't go far, can't charge very fast, but still costs way too much, right?
In fact, it seems like the type of thing that you do, and this is a move you do if you intentionally want to continue to discredit electric vehicles. Like, it seems I think it's a very reasonable take to look at this and be like, yep, Honda is trying to play into this and trying to continue to push people away from electric. So yeah, that deserves to be, pooped on, because it's not a serious effort. This is trying to undermine the whole movement.
I agree. This is why I was really baffled by, Fully Charged. I think they got access to it before everybody else, and they did a segment. And I understand that, when you get invited by a brand and you get flown out and everything, that you're more inclined to be, but, knowing myself, I have done this before where I saw features that were not good enough, and I did it right in front of the PR people that invited and paid for my tickets, because, journalistic integrity. So I was really surprised that Fully Charged had actually given this a rave review. But going back to my point, I think these are the exceptions which we should have them, called out and said, whoa, you're making us look bad here. So that's an exception. Do you agree with that?
100%. I mean, this is like the agent provocateur route, right? Like, we're pretending to be on your side, and we're going to say we're going to make a really bad product or say a bunch of bad stuff and try to make this side look bad. Yeah, no, of course. Like, this isn't a serious attempt at an electric car, not when you consider that price point. Now, if they're talking about a 100-mile range vehicle that's tiny and small, and like the BMW i3, which is a little tiny commuter little solution thing, but it's priced equivalently, sure. But if it's selling for the same price as a Tesla Model 3, no one will buy it, and that must be what they want. So yeah, 100%, Alex.
Yeah, I do have to say that I'm actually I do look at the i3 kind of almost the same way, because it is kind of pricey and the specs are. The only thing I always give BMW i3, well, a couple of props, is one, they have started earlier than most people, definitely earlier than most legacy manufacturers, but also I look at it more of a plug-in hybrid with a very impressive electric range. So if you look at it through that lens, I give it a pass. But as far as a technology of electric range versus price, don't like it. But in the case of Honda, there's no gas extender. So, all right. Well, I mean, what do you think should change maybe in the next couple of years? Maybe to unite our community, right? Because let me tell you where I'm going from. So somebody, let's say somebody like me, who's now living on a very different salary and being running my own business rather than collecting a big Silicon Valley salary. I can't just go and buy 100,000 Tesla. That's what most Americans and people in the world. And so I go and let's say I say, well, let me look in the Kia Niro because that's more price range, but it's all electric and I want to drive all electric. And then the Tesla owner comes in and goes like, no, 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 this is legacy manufacturer crap, and it doesn't do this, it doesn't have self-driving. You need to go and drive a Tesla. And that's what I'm afraid of, is that our own community, the Tesla community, saying don't buy anything unless it's Tesla, but you can't afford a Tesla, so I don't know what to tell you. How can we prevent that? How can we have Tesla drivers encourage other people to drive electric, even though it may not be from Tesla brand?
I mean, if there's a lot of Tesla owners I speak with, and the ones that are really actively out there trying to push, really pushing the brand and pushing these cars, they seem to be the folks who have the most, big picture understanding. So, for example, if you can afford a Tesla, you should buy a Tesla. The Tesla, I mean, we've even talked about this, Alex, we've even agreed, especially when you look at Model X, Model S, and even Model 3, the value to money is better than what you will get anywhere out there. However,
Agreed.
if you can't afford that car, there are other electric vehicles that I recommend to people, and depending on their price range and what's available, sometimes it's a Volt, like there are different options there. That the answer is you should go electric. And if $10,000 is your price range or $5,000, you're going to be looking at a used electric car that's not a Tesla. But if you can afford even starting at $25,000 for some of these really old used Model S's, but more realistically, let's say 30, 35, then Tesla's absolutely the way to go. So I think there's a couple aspects to it too. Is one, we've got to get more people exposed to these cars, at least the real big electric vehicle advocates. Now, the average person who loves their car isn't going to go out and test drive a bunch of other cars, right? Like that's what people like you and me are going to do. But I think the other side of it is, and again, the hardest part is it's coming from the attack side. It's being driven by this large weight of mainstream media really pressing down against Tesla and trying to use these brands to do it. And I would say these legacy manufacturer brands, like in case of Honda, who clearly doesn't want to actually sell an electric car, they're incentivized to make it an electric versus electric discussion either. So that's going to be a hard uphill fight. But I think the, quote unquote influencers in the Tesla community and the electric vehicle community, if they make the effort to be informed and actually talk about these vehicles in a way that's accurate, fair, balanced, I think that will help dissuade some of the overly tribalistic behavior that we've seen in response to so much of the attacks.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm glad you kind of mentioned being informed. A lot of times I hear from a Tesla owners saying, well, you can't buy any other electric car because you can't travel like you can with superchargers. That was true a couple of years ago. It is no longer true, and definitely not going to be true by the end of the year.
Right now, I would say it's not as it was a few years ago where you can't travel. Now you can, but right now you need to actually look at your routes. I read an article recently where they used, it was either iPace or an e-tron. I forgot. It must have been the iPace. And they did this route going from Chicago to somewhere else. And this route still didn't have enough charging. However, it looked like by the end of next year, it was on the map for Electrify America to solve that. So you're absolutely right. It's coming. But if you're going to buy one that's not a Tesla, unlike a Tesla supercharger, you can say, look, buy the car, you can go everywhere you need to go. That's accurate. There's still holes in the other electric infrastructure network, but they're getting filled, and they're working rapidly to do that.
Yeah, by the end of this year, as far as Ionity in Europe and Electrify America in the US, they will have enough to cover pretty much all the major corridors. Obviously, if you're buying a CCS compliant car, which most of the newer ones is, it makes sense that it's at least 75 kilowatt hour charging, but you can even get by with 50. I'm just saying that I wish everybody would kind of stay up to date by maybe watching this channel. But a lot of people don't want to watch this channel because we don't always kiss Elon's ass here, and therefore they don't want to watch. But where else they're going to find out about Electrify America? Not on Teslarati, I got to tell you, and not about Ionity on Teslarati. So I guess
be a great future video, Alex, to actually go into what the fast charging network coverage looks like, especially in Europe. And the reason I bring that up is BMW just recently came out and said that European customers are not interested in pure electric vehicles. We don't have the infrastructure, so we're going to delay electrifying for a few more years. Which, by the way, even the rest of the legacy manufacturers were like jaw dropped, like, "What are you talking about, BMW?" But I think that's another perfect example that they're trying to spill out this propaganda. There's enough infrastructure in Europe, and they're very much, in fact, the density in Europe, I believe, is actually higher than most of the U.S. They're a much more concentrated landmass, so their charging to distance ratio, I actually think, is much better there in net. I think that'd be a great video, Alex.
So I have done that video, and you're a little bit wrong here because I think you're reading off of the headlines rather than what the guy actually said. What the guy actually said is actually, as sad as it is, and I hate it, is a little bit true. Actually, maybe even a lot true. He didn't say that nobody wants the cars. He essentially say when people walk up to on their dealerships, they don't ask for an electric car. Now, granted, it's because they're producing the piece of crap i3 for the last 5 years and made no other effort, really realistic effort, to present anything better. But he didn't say that nobody wants them. He essentially said that nobody who walks up onto the dealership asks for an electric car, which unfortunately is kind of true. I mean, whether it's BMW or others, we have not educated everybody on how amazing these cars are. And he's essentially just saying, listen, we just don't have people asking for it. And I actually believe him. There's nothing wrong with it.
Audi is going all in on this. And although they don't have people asking for it, when people walk into the dealership, salespeople are going to do what they do. They're going to say, hey, get into this new great option we have. You're going to love it. It's all electric. And they're going to have the experience that everybody else has when they get in a Tesla. Although it's not going to be the same tech and some things, that electric experience, the quietness on the road, the smooth acceleration, the one pedal driving. I mean, all the salespeople got to do is put people in these cars. And when they compare it to the gas equivalent, Alex, you and me both know what they're going to want to buy.
Yeah.
They may not be coming in there asking for it, but as soon as your salespeople put them in it, we know what choice they're going to make, and BMW doesn't want them to make that choice.
I think with Audi, you're giving them a little too much credit, at least to their dealerships. I think it's going to be the other way around. I don't think they're going to be walking people to the e-trons, but I think people will walk in and say, I've heard about your e-tron, and then they will walk them to the e-tron. So I think it's going to be the other way around, but nevertheless, what I'm saying is that I just want to make sure that we, again, not going by the media headlines, we're going by the actual quote, which actually, as sad as it is very true, and it's up to us.
See, he's trying to conflate that because people are asking for it, they won't sell, and that's where he's being. That's where he's being misleading. Just because people aren't asking for it, if people are being shown these vehicles next to their ICE car equivalents instead of their ICE car equivalents, the cars will sell.
And don't get me wrong.
Because people aren't asking for them, they won't sell.
Absolutely. The whole interview was BS, except for that one thing that everybody hung on to, which was actually the only thing that's true, because he was just basically saying how regulations are pushing them to do it. Well, dude, if regulations are pushing you to do it, then why aren't you doing it then, right? Because you still have to stay competitive and true to your investors, and you're not. So don't get me wrong. The whole interview was BS. I'm just saying that, I just want to make sure that we're not, going by the headlines. We're going by the actual, facts and the quote of that. But see, I'm allergic to this kind of BS, actually. Anyway, listen, I think we're on the same page, and I really hope that people watch us, if they're Tesla owners, and they meet somebody who's looking for an electric car, and even a plug-in hybrid. I was just talking about my Volt, how it's still a great car for people who may even be able to afford a Tesla, but afraid. This is a great gateway drug where they can be introduced to a new technology, but still have the backup plan of having a gas car if needed, and they'll find out that most of the time they don't. So I hope more and more Tesla owners advocate for electric cars in general, rather than Tesla or nothing kind of a thing. And I think me and you are on the same page, but I think I wanted to make this video just to encourage more of them to do that.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, I didn't raise my blood pressure this time as much as I did last time, so that's a good thing. But hey, listen, happy 4th of July. I always enjoy this, and I'm sure there will be another interesting topic we'll chat about next time.
Looking forward to it. Thanks, Alex.
Now, real quick, don't forget to mention your podcast. What's next?
Yeah. So on the next episode of the Tesla Geek Show podcast, we actually have a very special guest coming up next week. He's the guy behind the Tesla Motors Club Instagram. If you guys are on Instagram, that's the biggest fan account, about 171,000 followers. We're going to have him on, talk about his Tesla experience, some of the conversations he's gotten to have with Elon. Him and Elon used to talk back and forth on Instagram all the time. And actually it was kind of cool. There was actually a number of news stories generated from that as a result of Elon unveiling things about the rockets, because just like the everyday astronaut, a Tesla Motors Club guy is a big space geek. So it's going to be a fun interview. The other awesome thing I have going is I'm in the last 72 hours of my Kickstarter for episode 2 of the Adventures of Starman. So if you haven't already checked that out, you can go to bigoilstrikesback.com and see the progress we've made on making episode 2 of the Adventures of Starman.
I'm excited about that, man. It looks great, and you have it animated this time as well. It looks absolutely amazing, and I'm surprised, even though I think it's an amazing product and was a sponsor of the show at some point too. That how fast all of the spots filled up, how many people pre-ordered already. So now I'm going to put a link to the podcast as always in the description of this video. So have a great weekend, have a great 4th of July celebration, and I will see you next time.
Thanks, Alex. Can't wait to catch up soon.
All right, guys. Absolutely love these conversations. Obviously, I'm looking forward to the comments because I know this is kind of a controversial topic. Please stay, by the way, please stay civil. I really don't need name calls and stuff like that. I really actually like you guys participating in this. Tell me if you're a Tesla owner and what do you say when you recommend an electric car to somebody who's your neighbor, and especially somebody who may not be able to just drop $100,000 on a Tesla because either they don't earn enough, or maybe they have other priorities, like they have kids that they want to put that money towards their college funds and they can't do both. Tell me, what do you tell them? And if you don't ever sort of recommend other cars, is it because you maybe are not aware of what other brands are producing now, or because you just literally think that it's Tesla or nothing? Either way, I'd like to hear what your reasoning is, because this is what this conversation is all about. While you're typing that in, don't forget to type your email address in when you are joining our VIP list. Bonus articles every Saturday. These are the stories that we just weren't able to fit into the daily news, even though I do three segments per day here. Nevertheless, sign up for that. That's a second free thing that you can find in the description of this video. Byton reservation being the other one. All right, guys, that's pretty much it. Thank you to Eli for hanging out once again, and I will see you next time. And of course, remember to stay charged.